Hey everyone, Roy Taki here from BizDev Labs. In today's video, I wanted to go over probably one of the most technical aspects of outbound business development. And basically what I did is I broke down the process on what we're doing here at BizDev Labs and what I'm seeing is a big gap in the industry and the way companies are approaching outbound business development. Imagine that you are implementing outbound for your company. Typically what happens is there's a sales funnel and you're taking a prospect from cold, they've never heard of you before, to hopefully a customer. What we're forgetting is to break down the funnel into pieces and really building the customer journey. It's not enough to just send emails or just cold call. We have to take prospects across a buyer's journey, and it's our job to build that journey for them. Otherwise, how are they going to get from step A to Z? Somebody has to tell them what to do and guide them through that process. And if we want to guide prospects through the funnel, we have to really break down on what step A looks like, step B, step C, all the way to step Z. I think companies don't break that down enough and don't think about the differences between phase one, which I'll show you in a second, and the mid phase when they're a little bit ahead of the buyer's journey. There's two scenarios for outbound that are very clear cut, very different from one another. Phase one, which are prospects who've never heard of your company and product before. Typically, if you're a startup, if you're just getting started with outbound, or even if you're a little bit more progressed, there's a high chance that not everybody in your target market or ICP knows who you are. Those individuals will fall into phase one, cold leads that have never heard of you before. Phase 2 and 3 have heard of you before. Either they got a email or message or cold call from one of your BDRs before, or they met at you in an event. All those kind of people have heard of you before. They're a little bit more familiar. So it's very important to separate those two phases because those two prospects will engage with your company differently. They're in two different stages of the buyer's journey. So it's important for your business or your marketing team to break that down and really understand that there's going to be a different approach here. You cannot approach somebody who's heard of you before the same way as somebody who hasn't. Clearly, there's some gaps. Phase one, people that have never heard of you before. If they haven't heard of you before, the biggest gap they're going to experience is an educational gap on what your product does and how you can help them. Don't focus on selling. Don't try to convert them right away. They literally just getting an email for the first time. Your number one priority should be to educate them on what you're doing and how you can help. I call that product marketing campaign. You take them through a series of emails that touch on different parts of your product, which may look like this: different value props, different things about integrations. You can throw competitor analysis or a side-by-side comparison on how your company is different than everyone else. You can do some metrics and KPIs, throw in numbers or case studies, all these kind of stuff that really educate them on what you do. So by the time they are done with the sequence, they know everything about your company, all the tech stack, all the integration, value props, everything. What you'll notice is that there's going to be two sides to this. One, naturally, people are going to be interested in book time with you to learn more because they need the product and you're solving it for them. Or other people won't book right now, but they are educated. So you've already won. You already educated the market on what you do. You can get all those people from different lists. People who change jobs, new companies that just raised funding, companies that have never heard of you before that are cold, all these kind of strategies. We can get into that in a little bit more detail later. But those are the kind of people that will be most impacted by a product marketing campaign. Phase number 2 is slightly different. Phase number 2 is reaching out to people who've heard of you before. They've already been educated. They got your educational content. They know what you do, and they still haven't converted. Why? That phase number 2 is going to be a little bit harder to convert. If they've already heard of you before and they haven't converted, there's a reason why. So it's your job as a marketing team or BDR team to figure out why that is and add enough value to convince them or push them to make the final decision. What that might look like is send them personalized videos on unique use cases for their vertical, or do account-based marketing and send them specific insights about their own company that they didn't know. Really show them the value personalized to them. You can do all these kind of stuff. You can do voice notes, you can do videos, all these stuff to stand out because they have the attention right now of you and your competitors. They're aware of the industry and they're about to make a decision. You're going to stand out when you do those things. You're going to also trickle in kind of like a nurture campaign, new features that happened or new partnerships, or invite them to events. All those kind of stuff fall into phase number 2. What you can see here, by the way, the images, it's different. Phase number 1 is about the company, and phase number 2 and 3 is about the person. It's about them. First, you need to educate them about you, then you need to target them. So slightly different shift right there. Phase number 3 is the most difficult. Imagine how many touch points there has been already in the buyer's journey. You sent them educational product marketing campaigns. Then you sent them account-based marketing. And you sent them personalized videos and all these kind of stuff and personalized outreach. And they still haven't converted. Likely, they don't have a pain enough. They don't need a product like yours. They're using a competitor. They're doing it in-house. They've already have a solution solved, which means the only way you're going to win is if you nurture them long-term enough that in a year or two, when something happens, they're going to think of you first. And the only way to do that is LinkedIn, which means that if you only have phase 1, you'll only convert a portion of your market. If you have phase 1 and 2, you'll convert a larger portion of the market. And if you have phase 1, 2, and 3, you're going to convert a lot of people over time at a way more scalable approach. So what I'm seeing is that most companies are usually doing only phase 2, and then they're trying to scale that. But as you can see, it's much deeper than this, and you're missing taking companies from point A to Z. So it's very hard to scale, and you're not building the buyer's journey well enough. This is what it looks like holistically, the 3 phases broken down, and how you should be taking companies from phase 1 to phase 3. This is the kind of stuff we help startups build. We help build the infrastructure for this. We help build the campaigns. We help strategize and prioritize. This is not just as easy as a copy-paste method. You really have to shift your entire team's perspective to, okay, let's start focusing on phase 1. Most of our energy should go there because the highest conversion is phase 1. Phase 2 is a little bit harder. So let's enable our BDR team to have more free time to do those personalized things, right? Most of the BDRs, especially the experienced subject matter experts and the ones who've done it a lot, should focus on this higher tiered bucket. But if they're not doing phase 1, which is the best conversion, they're going to miss out. So it's cool to do that, but don't forget about phase 1. Phase 1 should always be the number 1 priority, followed by phase 2. And then most of the companies, as you know, are lacking phase 3. They have no way of converting the ones that are quite interested in the long run. Ask yourself, which phase are we doing and why? And where are the prospects in the buyer's journey? And based on that, you can build your strategy.